Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the June 12, 2018 Board of Selectmen meeting. Could I have a motion to make Peter clerk pro tem, please?
Motion to make Peter pro tem clerk.
Second.
A motion made by Mary, seconded by Mr. Scasiotti. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstaining, it's unanimous. Okay, next up, roll call, please.
Okay, present this evening are Selectman Scasiotti, Selectman Bruce, Chairman Pro Tem Tropiano, Clerk Pro Tem Titlebaum, and Town Council Bowen. We're awaiting Town Administrator Sullivan's arrival.
All right, let's have Pledge of Allegiance, and let's see. How about Winner? Can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Most definitely.
All right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next up, announcements. Tony?
Nope. All set.
Mary?
No, sir.
Okay, I have none. Peter?
Let's see.
Anything in the bag of tricks?
Alan here. Oh, microphone on. Wareham Community Outdoor Recreation announces that June is Buy a Picket Month. CORE is raising money for the Lopes Playground rebuild and is selling 500 engraved fence pickets that will surround the new playground. Pickets are just $40 each and can be engraved with names, organizations, businesses, etc. Each picket is made from recycled milk jugs. You can visit www.warehamcore.org to download a form or order online. I also know that CORE is holding an event out at the Lopes Field Playground on June 30th as well. I'm not quite I think there was an announcement in the paper on that. But that's just one of the things that's going on in Onset. The other thing I got something from the Buzzards Bay Coalition today about some of the Onset summer programs that are going to be going on at the bathhouse. There's still space available in some of these programs. Kids 9 to 12 can enroll in the July 9th through the 20th and August 6th and 17th sessions. The partners in this are the Gleason YMCA swim instructors for the Learn to Swim program. Speaking personally, I was very surprised and somewhat chagrined a few years ago when the YMCA did a study of Wareham children and found out that something like 35% of fourth graders in this town did not know how to swim. In a coastal community, that's just shocking that so many kids are potentially vulnerable to drowning and not knowing how to swim. Kayak exploration with Nemasket Kayak. Learn to Sail, Community Boating Center of New Bedford are the instructors. Wareham Boys and Girls Club and the Wareham Care Program are managing all the youth registration. I know that there's a fairly minimal fee associated with the Boys and Girls Club summer program. I do know that there's financial aid and in some instances free tuition to attend these things. So I'd like to thank the coalition for bringing these programs to Onset. They're certainly very much needed, and it's great to know that kids who otherwise might not have the opportunity to learn how to swim, to learn how to sail, to learn how to kayak are going to get that chance.
Okay, is that it?
That's it.
Okay, board comments? Anything, Tony?
Nope. All set.
Mary?
I have nothing.
Peter?
Nope.
No, neither do I. Citizens' comments. Anybody here to speak to the board this evening? Come on down. Just your name and where you're from, please. Any one of the mics.
Any one of them.
Just speak right into it, though, because you know why? These mics are tough. You got to kind of get right up to them.
Lisa Morales from Onset.
Okay?
And just keep rolling right on with the comments about the Buzzards Bay Coalition and the bathhouse. I'm here tonight because some Onset residents have been meeting for several months and have some questions and concerns about the lease the town signed with the Buzzards Bay Coalition for the land and building at the Onset bathhouse. I personally am very supportive of the concept of the Buzzards Bay Center. The town signing a lease, however, for land it does not now nor never did own is concerning to me and others. Until April 5th, we thought this was just a bathhouse renovation and improvement. So there are a number of questions that we do have, and maybe you want to give us some information about why now, after having leased maybe two I can't pronounce it, Nemasket kayaks in the past, and you've leased to other organizations in the past, and the town has brought in money from leasing the bathhouse at least since the 1920s, and we've looked back at different town meeting reports and things, how much money was brought in. Never before did you ask any of the war descendants or so-called heirs to revive the Onset Bay Grove Association and sign off on such a thing. So why now?
Well, this is citizens' comments, and unfortunately, we can't really respond to you, but we can get you an answer. So if you can, you see the white book right there? If you write it, the questions in there, we'll get some answers for you, okay?
Okay,
All right.
yes, and so this is something we have a concern about.
Just take care of it now.
You see,
Know more about this than any other two people on the planet.
if you want to say something. It's
I'll let
sort of
Attorney
not
Bowen
the-
go
Not the
first.
norm, but okay.
Yeah.
You guys want to say something? Okay.
I mean, we're not making policy, we're discussing
All right, just,
policy that's been made.
nothing to do with policy, though, please.
No.
Never.
Okay.
With your permission, Mr. Chairman. Ma'am, the trust was revived with the consent of the War family.
Yes, I know it was. That's not the question.
You asked, why wasn't it revived with the consent of the War family? And the answer to your question is, yes, it was revived.
No, the question is why never before and why now? Because you've never asked them to sign off before. There was an extensive memo written by Mr. Teitelbaum in 1999 saying that there had not at that time been a title search. Was a title search conducted prior to leasing the bathhouse and the land surrounding it?
I'm not sure what title would be involved here. The record title in that property remains in the Onset Bay Grove Association, which it does for many of the groves, many of the islands, all along the bluffs. I think Pavilion Park is an interesting exception to that. I think that was handled in a 1923 case, and it wasn't part of the original decree because somebody went in and started cutting trees, and one of the people complained about that. Standpipe Hill, for example, these properties are all still owned, technically, by the Onset Bay Grove Association. To the extent that the town, when at least, you know, and I'm not sure we did it by lease agreement or whether it was by license to Nemasket Kayak. What was the term of the lease?
1 year.
1 year. There's a significant difference between running the risk of a property owner objecting to a 1-year lease and a property owner objecting to a 99-year lease. I can tell you that it wasn't the town that was concerned about the Onset Bay Grove Association, it was the coalition. And so they were the ones who went through the revival process. The town did not. They paid for it, the town did not.
So continuing on with that thought, if the Onset Bay Grove Association, AKA the War heirs, are the actual owners, which in any type of a dedicated public easement is what would happen, as you explained earlier on, that they actually do maintain the title, and the town is the trustee, then why did Derek Sullivan sign the lease and not Mr. War?
Mr. War, you've got to understand something about what happened with the War family as regards the 1915 case of Attorney General against the Onset Bay Grove Association, and the War family's reaction to that and the subsequent Bacon case. For decades, they've been, I think, upset at how their forebears were portrayed, essentially as not honest developers. They've been extremely reticent to have anything to do with the premises. And it was only actually through the agency of Judy Whiteside that we've had any contact with the War family, who, by the way, ran what is now Zecco's Marine for decades after they got out of the Onset Bay Grove Association. They remained well-known in Wareham. They remained very active in Wareham. My family kept boats there. I was in that boatyard scraping the bottom of my grandfather's boat when it was hung up on a lift when I was 5 years old, so I know the place very well, and I know the War family well. As regards the bathhouse, that is something that the town of Wareham has essentially managed, has run, has taken care of since the time the Onset Bay Grove Association ceased activity, much as it has maintained the parks down there, much as it has, or not maintained, as some may claim. But nonetheless, that responsibility has fallen upon us as the trustees. And so the revival of the corporation was at the request of the Buzzards Bay Coalition, simply because they wanted to satisfy their title concerns. If they want to get insurance, they have to potentially show that they have lawful control of the property. They needed Mr. War essentially to assent to that in order to satisfy themselves internally. We didn't see that we needed it. That was solely their action.
Thank you. And one of the other questions is that at town meeting, the only thing that was approved was leasing the bathhouse. In 2016, in April, warrant number 14, article number 14, nobody approved anything about leasing out the land, the beach and the bluffs, which is in the actual lease.
Yeah, I can sort of explain what's going on there. Some of that is engineer speak. The portion of the premises that was leased, and I understand there's been some concern about what appears on the exhibit that's with the notice of lease that's recorded in the Registry of Deeds, and how that appears to be a bigger area than the bathhouse itself. What that area actually shows on there is the concrete pad that the bathhouse sits upon. Over the years, the bluffs have actually crumbled and eroded down almost against the side of the building. The concrete pad extends about 20 feet out from the back of the building and is now underneath where the bluffs were. So interestingly enough, at this point in time, it would seem that the bluffs are trespassing upon the leased premises rather than the leased premises attempting to trespass upon the bluffs. If you look at the front of the building, it shows an area in front of the actual building, which, again, I didn't get out a ruler and check the scale, but it looks to me like that's the concrete area in front of the building. I don't think there was a single grain of sand that's been leased, to be honest with you.
As a matter of fact,
I think what they've mentioned, what they did in there was they took standard engineer speak for where it's situated. I mean, it's situated on a beach, and it is up against the coastal bank.
Well, not only is it in the engineer's drawing, it's in the language of the lease, the beach and the bluffs, and it's also in the language of the Chapter 59 article that was passed by the governor, the beach, the bluffs.
Yeah, and again, I don't think the language, I don't think the language has somehow expanded into an expanded leasehold beyond what was approved at town meeting. They've got control over the cement area, some of which you can see, and a good chunk of which you can't.
And finally, one other question was, is there going to be a demolition and rebuild, or are they going to be able to lift that building and put it on pilings that their engineering calls for?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know that.
Yeah, we have, you
That's
probably
a good
should.
question for Buzzards Bay
Yeah,
Coalition.
you should ask them, because what we understood was that they were going to go in and restore the building. My understanding, loosely, and you can see in the initial discussions with them, was that they intended to refurbish the interior of the first floor. They were going to restore the second floor, which used to be on there. A lot of people don't realize that, but at one point there was a second floor that ran across, not the whole expanse of the building, but a portion of the building. I know some people are concerned about the second floor. They'd probably be even more angry at me because I suggested they should expand the second floor even more so the town could retain more space in the building, but they didn't go along with that. I think the current plan calls for the second floor to be somewhat less, or approximately around half of the length of the overall building. In looking at their concept plans, I don't know what they've refined in the meantime. I'm not privy to whatever plans I haven't taken a look at any plans that they might have submitted. I'm not even sure they have filed those plans with the Director of Inspectional Services at this point in time. They're still in the fundraising portion of it, and I think before they go ahead and prepare detailed architectural plans, it wouldn't be wise for them to do so until they know they've got the money to pull the project off, because that's a substantial figure in the 5 figures at least to design that building.
It is, very much so. And was there discussion with the selectmen at the time about funding this going into the future, not just the building itself, but sustaining it, maintenance for it, insurance for it?
Oh, we got that, that's all in the lease.
It's all there.
The lease is extremely comprehensive in terms of the rights and responsibilities of the parties. I think we had no fewer than 5 lawyers working on the damn thing, including 2 of the ones sitting here.
And there's also a penalty for if it doesn't happen and how long they have to do it and everything else. It's all in there.
Yeah.
We spent a great deal of time on that lease, in fact.
So the lease is beyond what's been filed with the Registry of Deeds?
Right, because all you see in the Registry of Deeds is a notice of lease, which is all they needed to do to put the public on notice, legal notice, that there was a lease of that duration. And anybody who wants to see the lease, of course, where the town has in fact executed, it's a public document.
And why is it a majority and not a 2/3 vote to put this lease out? Some people have asked why it wasn't a 2/3 vote to change the use of this building.
Change the use.
It's not going to be a bathhouse.
Well, it's still kind of a bathhouse.
Just because it has a bathroom in it?
Yeah, I know what she's asking.
The problem with this discussion is that the lady has a list of the very specific questions that are based on assumptions which may or may not be true. For example, the use of the property has changed. Use is defined in a more general sense than it's gone from a bathhouse to a kayak storage facility. Use categories are much broader. Recreation, general municipal use.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say.
So I think when you get down into, well, why isn't it a bathhouse anymore, really you're following an assumption that legally has no weight.
Yeah, and
I guess the question is really, should have this been a 2/3 vote or not?
At town meeting, where we weren't conveying a permanent interest in land or taking a permanent interest in land?
I don't think so.
Again, it would be wonderful to have a copy of
The town
warrant
report.
article and the motion that was in front of us, because you are being asked to offer opinions on things that are a matter of your recollection, which may or may not be correct.
Yeah, I honestly don't
So,
remember what the quantum of vote was.
If you want to make
Yeah.
assumptions,
See, that's why, that's why it was better to write the questions and put them in the book, and then let us have time to get the answers for you. I realized you guys had some things you wanted to say, and that's fine. But I think at this point, anything else you want to know, why don't you put it in the book there, and we'll get you answers for the questions.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just add, it's my recollection that the article was seeking special legislation that authorized the lengthy lease. And
I believe it was.
and that special legislation and petitioning for special legislation requires a majority vote. But that's my recollection based on something that happened a couple years back.
It's okay.
Actually,
Yeah, I can't remember which way it was.
read you the article, the warrant article, in which was...
All right, we
this
gotta
wasn't-
stop.
Which wasn't
We gotta
that.
stop, I'm sorry.
That's
But
fine.
we got a whole meeting to get to,
Thank
and this
you.
wasn't on the agenda. I'm sorry. But please, write it in the book, and we'll get you the answers.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate you coming in. Anybody else here to speak to the board this evening? Seeing none, we're gonna move on. Appointments.
Yeah, we got some. Reappointments.
Okay.
Starting off, this is for the Recycling Committee. I move that the Board of Selectmen appoint Charlene L. Price, 32 Standish Ave, East Wareham, Mass., as a member of the Recycling Committee for a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2021.
Second.
Second. Okay, motion made by Peter Titlebaum, seconded by Mr. Scasiotti. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, it's unanimous. 400.
Okay, next up, Angela Dunham, 40 Oak Street, Wareham, Mass. I move that the Board of Selectmen appoint Mrs. Dunham as a member of the Historical Commission for a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2021.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, motion made by Mr. Titlebaum, seconded by Mr. Scasiotti. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstaining, unanimous, 400.
Okay, we have Sharon Frank seeking to be appointed as a member of the Council on Aging Board. I move that the Board of Selectmen appoint Sharon Frank, 76 Crown Drive, West Wareham, Mass., as a member of the Council on Aging Board for a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2022.
Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Titlebaum, seconded by Mr. Scasiotti. Anybody have any questions? No? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstaining, unanimous, 400.
Okay, this is for a member of, this is actually for,
Hold on one second.
Yep.
Go ahead, Counsel.
I know I usually don't say anything in the course of appointments.
Yeah.
hey, what? Hey, what?
Just with respect to Ms. Franks, and I believe there might be one or two other folks. We recently did a questionnaire that talked about friends groups and people on friends groups serving on committees. And I just wanted to announce that based on the results of this questionnaire, which we just got back, I'm going to be holding an ethics seminar that talks about how people on friends groups who are also committee members want to navigate the ethics laws very carefully. And so
Okay.
if Ms. Franks wants to keep that in her potential list of meetings, I'd be happy to have her.
Well, I
on.
hope that
Thank
she will do that then. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
What was-
Okay,
What was the next one?
now we have constables. Robert A. Terrell, 12 Halloran's Way, Plymouth, Mass. Move that we appoint him as a constable for the town of Wareham to a term to expire no later than June 30th,
Have a second?
2019.
Motion made by Mr. Titlebaum, seconded by Mr. Scasiotti. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, it's unanimous, 400.
Okay, excuse me, another constable, Christine DeRocha, 12 Halloran's Way, Plymouth. Move to appoint to a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2019.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Titlebaum, seconded by Mr. Scasiotti. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstaining, it's unanimous, 400.
Okay, last, Robert E. Short, 2 Foundry Circle, West Wareham. I move that the town appoint Mr. Short as a constable to a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2019.
Second, please. Okay, motion made by Mr. Titlebaum, seconded by Mr. Scasiotti. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, it's unanimous, 400.
Signatures here.
Okay. Signatures. License and permits. Discussion and vote on the renewal of the earth removal permit for Highland Inc. Come on down. I did a little homework with this. They do about 6, 8 trips a day, that's all. They are permitted for 50, but they're only doing 6 or 8 trips. And they've done that pretty regularly since they started.
Yep.
So it isn't a lot.
No.
It does get us, we do get a few dollars out of it in the end result,
Yep, we do.
which is, you know, I guess okay. Wouldn't you say, Mr. Sullivan?
Okay, then. Well, now that we've gotten that on the record finally.
Yeah. Finally, took a lot of time to get that on the record,
Yeah,
didn't
6 years later, huh?
So what's your pleasure?
I move that we grant an earth removal permit to Highland Inc. For off Glen Charlie Road, East Wareham, Mass. Said permit to be effective from June 16th, 2018 through June 16th, 2021.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Titlebaum, seconded by Ms. Bruce. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstaining, 400, it's unanimous.
Thank you.
And
Thanks.
on a more serious note, thank you for coming forward. You've been very good on this, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, he's been
Yeah.
very consistent
Yeah.
in getting these things done, that's for sure.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I love the little charts, too, that show the trips and everything. I think that's kind of cool.
He keeps his clients out of trouble. Thank you, guys. Good job, thanks.
Renewal secondhand dealer licenses.
Yep. Let's see, we've got 1, 2,
Probably can do them in
3,
one
4. I'm just going to do them in one motion.
Yeah.
Uh,
We just check off against the agenda to see
Yeah.
if we got them all here.
BPOE number
Yeah,
73.
we got the Elks.
GameStop,
Yep,
Onset Emporium,
yep,
Church of the Good Shepherd,
yep,
Cranberry Inn Outdoor Flea Market.
yep. I move that we vote to issue secondhand dealer licenses to those 5 named entities.
Second.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Titlebaum, seconded by Ms. Bruce. Any other discussion?
No.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, it's unanimous. Request from Paul Rose for 3 one-day liquor licenses. This is the Dudley Brown, right?
Yeah, let me just get these on the treadmill here.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, we got 1 days. Doing one at a time, or?
No, you can read them together.
All right.
Just read them all. Just read what they got.
Okay, I move that we issue the following 1 days to,
I think it's
name of licensees, Paul
Paul
Rose.
Rose, yeah. 'Cause this is in the thing outside there.
Yep.
Yeah.
For 4 Gibbs Ballpark Road, first one, June 23rd, 2018, 1 PM to 7 PM, at the VFW Pavilion, all alcohol, nonprofit. Second one is, let's see, June 24th, 2018, also 4 Gibbs Ballpark Road, VFW Pavilion, also all alcohol, also a nonprofit. And the third one is for June 30th, 2018, 1 PM till 8 PM, VFW Pavilion, 4 Gibbs Ballpark Road, also all alcohol, also nonprofit.
Motion made by Mr. Titlebaum. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Titlebaum, seconded by Mr. Scasiotti. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstaining, it's unanimous, 400.
All right. Let me just start signing
Next
these.
is
and-
Onset Bay. Onset Bay Association for a 1 day.
Yeah, let me just get these
Okay.
going, so I don't lose them. All right, those are good. Let's see. Here we have a 1-day Onset Bay Association, 4 Union Ave, Onset, Mass. Seeking to sell beer and wine at the Prospect Park Lillian Gregerman Band Shell to be contained in the beer garden from 12 noon until 9 PM. Licenses for the sale of beer and wine, and the activity is nonprofit.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Titlebaum, seconded by Mr. Scasiotti. Is there any more discussion?
Just to note that this is for the annual Blues Festival.
Festival.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstaining, it's unanimous, 400.
All right. Next up, we have another 1 day. It's that season. This is to the Professional Bartending Service, 410 West Falmouth Highway, West Falmouth. Date of June 23rd, 2018. Service hours 5 PM to 10 PM. Roland Thatcher Hall, 11 Gibbs Ave, Wareham. Sale all alcohol for a for-profit event. And I'll just take a look here in the application, see if we have a description of what the event is. It's a private birthday party. Okay. That's my motion.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Titlebaum, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Scasiotti. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, it's unanimous, 400. Okay,
All right, that one's all set.
request to put signs, we got none of that, right?
Yeah, I'll check. Looks like this,
I don't believe so.
no, I don't see the folder.
Okay, anybody got any 48-hour business? Tony,
No.
Mary,
Nope.
Peter?
We do.
Oh, you do?
And
Okay.
I'm going to invite Director Buckland up if possible.
Okay,
Hey, he's here.
come on down, you're the next contestant.
Yeah, it's usually good when he's here to, when you invite him. Just saying.
Hasn't always happened with others. You can.
That sounds like a you problem.
Yeah.
Come on down.
Oh, you already signed? Okay.
I did, yeah.
Let's go back then, Alan.
This has to do with 35 Swifts Beach Road, property that was under a deed restriction for affordability. It was managed by CHAPA, the Citizens Housing, and something APA. I don't remember what the acronym stands for now. But, oh, Citizens Housing and Planning Association. The way this particular rider worked is if they were not able to sell it as an affordable unit within a reasonable amount of time, that it would be put onto the open market, and that any proceeds from that sale that was of value to the town would be returned as a distribution from the sale of the property. We went through the accounting with the property and had a distribution agreement that's been drafted for the total of $2,669.14.
Well then.
And with that, they're asking for a release of the rider so that they can sell the property or buy the property.
A question. Go ahead, Peter.
And the reason why this is an emergency is because their
Closing.
bank is trying to close and forcing them.
Is this another case of you liking money?
I would have liked more.
Yeah, you know, I just have one question. You know, it seems to me that, and we've had this problem before, that these affordable restrictions come off the property. And it seems almost crazy that you can't find somebody to put in there at an affordable rate, but you can find somebody who'll buy it at a market rate.
Yeah,
And what we do is we lose the affordable unit, and as you well know, that's causing us great hardship.
the last big one was Carlton Place.
Yeah,
was it?
exactly.
Carlton, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is not, I mean, this is not a good thing. This isn't good. You know, we're getting $2,000, but it's costing us much more.
Right, I mean, it's, unfortunately, when nothing happened in the last one, we lost out completely on it too, so.
I just don't understand, though. Why is it that you can sell this at the regular market price, but you can't sell it at the affordable price? I can't believe there isn't somebody out there that meets the affordable requirement.
Well, that's the problem, is you're targeting to an extremely narrow segment of the population that makes enough money to pay the mortgage, but is yet qualifies for the kind of assistance to do it. And nobody who can afford a property like this wants to pay less than the market rate. They would like to pay less than the market rate, but then they've got the deed restriction to contend with if they ever want to move.
You know, see what, the
So
way...
you're hamstrung.
Right, and Patrick, and I'm sorry to interrupt,
Go ahead.
I mean, this is from a separate thing that I'm working on, and this is fair market rent documentation, so not the same, but
Right, not the same.
somewhat similar. So here we have the New Bedford mess for the fair market for
Yes.
HUD, and that includes some fairly affluent communities, Acushnet, Dartmouth, Fairhaven, Freetown, and New Bedford City. So a three-bedroom, the fair market rent is $1,136. Now we have the Boston, Cambridge, Quincy, which
Wareham.
Wareham is a part of. Now, this contains some real affluent communities. However, just to give it, so as I just said, $1,136, a three-bedroom rent in Wareham, the fair market is $2,182.
Yeah, and you see, and that's what makes us primed for these kinds of developments, and that's one of the problems has been right along. Is there any way that we can petition the legislature to move us out of the district?
This is federal, so we'll have to go to the,
So what,
Okay.
maybe it's something we need to start the process. Maybe we should, you know, ask Rich to do some homework and see if we can see what's available and if there is anything available to get us out of it. Because this has been going on a long time, and we really do have an issue. I mean, one of the reasons why this project that is going to be on on the corner of Red Brook Road and Cranberry Highway is because they have that issue. They're affordable units as rentals, is tied to the Boston market, it makes it way more
Appealing.
appealing, let's say,
Yeah.
to come in and do something like that, as opposed to it would be if it was 1,100.
Yes, because the people, if they cannot afford the 2182, that difference is made up for them.
And I don't
So
know
the
who in Wareham can afford $2,000 a month in rent.
I'll t-
I don't know about you, but that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for me, I know that.
Makepeace is doing a very nice development for their apartments, and theirs is the market rate. And people were squawking about how expensive, and it's right in this wheelhouse of what they're calling a fair market
Yeah.
rate.
Yeah, exactly, and that's problematic for us. So what do you think? You
I
think we could
agree.
ask
I
Rich to
agree.
do some homework?
Yeah.
And see
Yeah,
if,
agree.
see if you can come up with some way that we can, I know it's a long shot, I know all these things are difficult, but, you know, until we try, we're
Yeah,
we're
maybe
getting
the
no
answer's
place.
no.
So we segued into the TA report, which I spoke about rents, to get to Rich. So that's the board, Rich, now we'll go back to,
Which, by the way, is next.
so let's go back now to the document we have, and I understand, Patrick, but this is sort of, this is.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I know we're stuck with this, I get that.
Mr. Chairman, I should say, I apologize.
Yeah, it's fine. You know, it doesn't, it's no big deal.
It's just pro tem, don't let it go to
It's
his head.
only, yeah, don't let it go to my head, it's only one night.
A wise gentleman did just remind me that it started off at 0, and then Mr. Bowen and Mr. Buckland, the killer bees, got to work, so.
And you got us a couple of grand. You go,
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, if we're gonna get screwed, we might as well get paid for it.
Oh my
You might as
gosh.
well.
Well,
Don't
That's
put that,
another legendary quote.
don't quote him on that.
Oh, you have to do that while I'm chair.
saved it
Can't
up
wait
for
for
you.
Alan to come
I
back.
saved it up for you. Alan wouldn't know how to react to it. He'd be flustered the rest of the meeting. You'll just laugh.
Alan to come back. All right.
All right, moving on.
All right, yeah, let's move on. We got other stuff to do here. All right, so, all right, I guess, you know, can I have a motion or whatever to authorize this, this change in
So moved.
The release of the rider.
release of the rider? So
Move to authorize release of the rider.
A motion by Peter, seconded by
Mary.
Mary. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstaining, it's unanimous. 4-0-0.
The screwing is complete.
Do we have to sign this thing? Yeah, we do, each one of us. And you know what? It requires a notary.
Right, so
Just
Is she watching?
sign it tonight.
wait,
No.
to go
Is
to
she
the clerk's
watching?
office.
Did you ask the clerk to watch? She usually watches us. And then she does them. She does do it. It's good.
Can you authorize the chairman of the board of selectmen to?
Can you do that? I don't think so. It's each, there's a sheet for each one of us. Can you do that, Rich? Authorize me to sign it?
Yes, but what you'd want to do would be to attach a clerk's certificate of vote showing that
That
by,
doesn't save us anything, really.
yeah.
Yeah, why don't we just wait and we'll put it at the clerk's office and everybody
Yeah,
can come in and
just
sign
Pop by
it.
and sign it. When is the closing?
Tomorrow.
Monday.
Oh,
Oh, so we
light
have,
years away.
so we have
That's light
plenty.
years away in the
we
real
have-
estate business.
Monday as in yesterday.
The way the selectmen work, you have plenty of time.
As in Monday, the 11th, yesterday.
Oh, Monday, the 11th. So they're closing, they've already closed?
They've already closed.
No, they haven't.
There,
Oh, so they're waiting for this?
yeah.
Well, all I can ask is that everybody goes into the clerk's office and signs. We only need, what, 3 of us to get there, so.
Yep.
So tomorrow, can somebody get over there? I won't be back until
right, I'll
3
go before
o'clock or
work.
so.
Wait a minute, is Rich a notary?
Rich, you a notary?
No.
Oh,
I think I've asked this question before, but I'd be remiss not to get it on
Ken,
the
we're gonna
record.
need you to become a notary next.
I have a notary in my office.
we're gonna have to get a notary.
There's a notary stamp in that building over there, Ken?
Yeah.
All right, so, anyway, we
Might
voted
sign
it. So if everybody could get to the clerk's office and sign this, it would be wonderful tomorrow.
Okay,
All right?
yes.
If 3 of you can get there, it would be wonderful.
This is why we don't like 48-hour business, because we're very often not quite prepared to finish it off.
Yeah, well, that's how it works. Town administrators report, please. Do you have anything else you want to add besides this,
Yeah,
this
fair market
torrent
rents.
mess you've brought upon our meeting?
I want to talk about fair market rents. Done.
Okay, let's go for it.
So just, I brought that up. And I think that it is important to what's going on within the community. But it also creates,
Just throw that in the.
when you think about it, it creates an unaffordable market for the regular renters. So if the subsidized renters are coming forward and the difference is being made up, those that are truly the average person can't afford these rents. And, you know, it's
Certainly not affordable people in Wareham, that's for sure.
every time, we sometimes get emails and stuff asking about if we have things for rent. They're talking about, you know, 2 bedrooms for a lot cheaper than, what is it, $1,740. You know, people are looking for $1,200 and $1,000. So it's, I feel badly for when people tell us being able to purchase, and I know someone will disagree with me, but the taxes in this community are very low. However, the rents are very high, and I think this is creating that artificial market.
Yep.
So,
That it? Thank you. Liaison reports, please. Tony? Mary?
I went to FinCom last week and they voted favorably, all the capital items, the, pier, what was it? All the things we had just voted
Yeah,
on.
the-
Tremont Nail Environmental
Fremont
Pier
Nail,
and
the pier, and
bathhouse, not
and-
bathhouse,
band
band
shell.
shell.
Yep,
Okay, well,
I
that's
got
good.
bathhouse on the brain.
Yeah, no kidding.
I know, me too.
All right, Peter?
We had a redevelopment authority meeting earlier. We're entertaining currently a couple of very interesting proposals for Tremont Nail usage.
Okay.
So there'll be more information about that in the future.
All right, I'm going to pass tonight. Consent agenda, do we have, we do, we have some minutes, right? I think there's 2 sets of minutes in there.
Should be at least.
It's the March 15th and May 22nd.
Let's make sure they actually made it in here. Oh, were these the ones you guys were supposed to sign?
Yes, I signed
There
one
you go.
already.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, we were all present for the May 22nd meeting. Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Titlebaum, seconded by Mr. Scasiotti. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, it's unanimous, 400.
On this next one, Mrs. Bruce was not here because she had not been elected yet. These are the meeting minutes from March 15th, 2018.
So she'll
So
abstain.
I move to approve those.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Titlebaum, seconded
Second.
by Mr. Scasiotti. Is there any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, abstaining?
Abstaining.
Okay, so 301.
Yep. And that takes care of that.
And that's it?
And that's it.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, and I think you and I spoke about this. I just wanted to clarify. It's probably tough for the board to see, but you can pass it on. There was the meeting for those, they weren't really abutters, but those that could be impacted to the work being done to the Tremont Nail Bridge.
The bridge, right?
Right. If people don't understand, there's actually 2 bridges, which is one is sort of the spillway with the fish ladder, and then there's the other spillway. The total cost, if we were to redo both of them, is estimated at about $1.2 million. We have $500,000 that we've received to do via grant to redo that first bridge section, the roughly 20-foot section. This other section, we don't necessarily know whether this is part of the entire town's layout. So we aren't touching that. And when speaking, saying 1.2 million to fix the bridge, that means both bridges. We're not doing that, we're just fixing one, and that does not include the dam. We're not talking about the dam or doing any work. So I understand it's confusing. You know, we're applying for grants for the next phase to do this, but we'd like to have everything cleared up before we would expend any funds on that section. This section from all the work before appeared to be town of Wareham. So I don't know if we want to pass this around real quick.
Yeah, no, that's good, because they had it as, we were gonna spend 1.2 million,
Right.
and that was not proper, and I just wanna clarify that, because people do ask those questions,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, they also wanted to know if that did include the dam, and,
The one that
Right.
they're gonna-
you know, which it did not, so.
No way. And this is 500,000 for this side, which we have a grant for, which means the other one's 700,000.
Yeah, 700 roughly.
Because the other one's more over the dam, it looks like.
And it does, they will include some road work, but we can have Chapter 90 monies to sort of work around some of that.
Yeah.
But it's not, we're not appropriating 700,000 out of the budget. We don't, I mean, when that, if you look at that, that would be almost our entire municipal maintenance. It'd be more than our municipal maintenance expense budget, so.
Yeah, while we're talking about, if I could, while we're talking about Chapter 90, you know, I have to say that there was a very nice job was done on Main Street between the Deacon School and Tremont Road there. The timing was a little interesting because the contractor had equipment breakdown. So, you know, they got stuck out there late on a Friday holiday weekend, which some folks weren't happy about, but the job got done. It's a very nice job. They also fixed under the railroad bridge, which has been a problem all spring long. People need to understand that in a super wet and rainy season, we went through this 5 years ago, the water actually bubbles up under the roadway, and if there's a pothole there that's been fixed, with the water action and everything else, it just creates gully washes the place, and it stays damp there forever and ever, so you can't repave. You got to wait until the water table drops back down again, gets below, you know, a couple of feet below the road surface, the roadway, and then you can go ahead and resurface it. So, you know, I'd like to thank people for their indulgence and their patience, you know, getting their teeth jarred loose driving over that thing for a couple of months, but there was no other way.
Well, they fixed the drains, too. They worked on the drains.
Yeah.
The towns did that specifically, so that'll help out a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's just one of those things that I don't know why, even back in 18 whatever, when they designed the thing, they were out of their minds building it like that, but it's what we're stuck with.
We have a lot of crazy roads with turns, crazy turns and stuff around this town. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You go down the road and all of a sudden it takes a right. You're like,
Because that's where the cow walked back in 17 whatever, and that's, you know.
cows used to take that right, so that's the way they made the road go. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Great Neck Road is like that all the way out, so
Yeah, you'd think they could have built a straight road.
you would think they could have done something
Yeah,
better
instead
than
of-
that. Instead of
Like
whatever.
a switchback in
and
the
it's
Sierra
funny because
Nevada or something.
Every telephone pole along those curves has been taken down more than once.
Yeah.
One year, just a year ago, 3 telephone poles, one on each curve was taken out in the car accidents, you know, so. All right, anyway, is there anything else? Is everybody all set?
sir.
Well, that only leaves one piece of business left.
Move to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Motion made to adjourn by Mr. Titlebaum, seconded by Ms. Bruce. Any other discussion?
No, you can't even ask that.
It's not debatable.
No, sir.
So, all in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, Wareham. Have a great night.
Have a good night.